Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. Sergeant at Arms, is the front lobby been cleared? Thank you. At this time, we request that all electronic devices be turned off or put in the silent mode. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the February 7th, 2023 school board meeting. The time is 6:05 p.m. and this meeting is called to order. Prior to the start of this evening's meeting, we've been enjoying music performed by students from Tice Elementary School Choir. This select group of music students is under the direction of Stanley Gavin. They were a featured group in this year's Sounds of the Season, and they continue to show excellence in the elementary choral field. Please give this amazing group one more round of applause. We'll just take a brief recess here while they make their way out. Achieves his or her highest personal potential and the district vision to be a world-class school system. This evening's agenda includes invocation, presentation of colors and pledge of allegiance, acknowledgements, one item under information, public comment, consent action items, which include 2 items under board office, 5 items under academic services, 4 items under business services, 2 items under human resources, 1 item under information systems, 2 items under operations, 1 item under public hearings, and 4 items under good of the order and other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Ms. Jordan?
I move that we adopt the agenda as written.
Is there a second?
I second.
Ms. Jada Fleming. The motion has been moved by Ms. Jordan and seconded by Ms. Langford Fleming. Please record your vote. Has everyone been able to vote? Okay. The motion carries 7-0. Ms. Langford Fleming will lead us in the invocation, after which Ms. Morgan will lead us in the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Good evening. Tonight we have lead pastor Steve Pruitt, who joins us from Riverside Church. Pastor Pruitt grew up in East Tennessee, went to grad school in Dallas at the Theological Seminary in Texas. He has been a pastor since 1993 and has served in Tennessee, Texas, and Georgia. Moved to Florida to become the lead pastor of Riverside Church in November 2018. He spent lots of time with his young adults and has a passion to see them lead the church. He's also good with his hands and enjoys dabbing in woodwork and art. He speaks bad Spanish, but uses computers fluently and believes Jesus ministered in ways that engage both the lost and the found, the devout and the desperate. Please welcome Pastor Pruitt.
Hold it down. It should be on. Thank you. It's an honor to be here tonight. Let us pray. Almighty Father, Creator, Maker, Holy One, full of mercy and grace and truth and light, thank you for the privilege to speak to you and the privilege to care for the families and children entrusted to our schools. We're grateful for the parents, the caregivers, the children, the staff, the faculty, and all those who serve on the board and love these kids. Father, we ask you to protect the children from harm, from pandemics. You provide them with safety and people who can nurture them so they might thrive. Lord, give wisdom and discretion, unity and insight to the board and all who make decisions that affect the schools and families. Let their meeting be productive and wise and full of grace. In the name of Jesus, the Savior. Amen.
Introducing the cadet who is presenting the national colors for our Pledge of Allegiance tonight is Colonel Jerry Hadley, Senior Army Instructor from Gateway High School. Colonel Hadley served 28 years in the Army in numerous infantry assignments to include both battalion and brigade commands while deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. He retired as the Director of Operations and Training for the Indiana National Guard. This is Colonel Hadley's 7th year as a JROTC instructor. It is his 3rd in this district, and thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. And presenting the national colors tonight is Cadet Major Maria Carval, excuse me, the Operations Officer of Gateway High School Junior RTC program. Cadet Carval transferred to Gateway from Estero High School. While in Junior RTC, she has been active in all aspects of the program. She has been the captain of drill, marksmanship, and drone teams. She has also participated in JRTC leadership and academic bowl teams and raiders. Cadet Carval volunteers for many Junior RTC events to include football parking, toy and food drives, and school open houses. Cadet Carval is an excellent student. She currently has a 3.94 grade point average. Would you all please join me in reciting the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. This evening student representative is Christian Whittish. Christian is a sophomore student from North Fort Myers High School and an officer of the Student Advisory Committee. With over 130 community service hours, Christian is constantly involved with his community and school, serving as the representative of the class of 2025 in student government, chapter president, Southwest Florida Judicial Coordinator, and state executive supporting officer of the Florida YMCA Youth and Government Program. Christian has a strong desire to learn and enriches himself at school by taking advanced classes with the ACE and leadership electives, currently earning him a 4.4 GPA. After high school graduation, Christian would like to pursue a career in law, attending the Naval Academy, and later becoming a United States Senator. Please welcome Christian Whittish. Christian, would you read the character word of February?
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. The character word for February is honesty. A quote, "Honesty is the faster way to prevent a mistake from turning into a failure." James Altucher. The design you see displayed on the screen was created by Erica Diaz, a 10th grade student at Mariner High School. The acknowledgements for the month of February are: the School Board of Lee County acknowledges the following for the month of February 2023. National School Counseling Week, February 6th through the 10th, 2023. Drug House Odyssey, February 7th through the 9th, 2023. National Career and Technical Education Month and National Black History Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Next on our agenda is the Hurricane Ian Recovery Community Update. Mr. Benier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, members of our community. A reminder that the purpose of the Hurricane Ian update is to provide an update related to the district's recovery efforts as we continue to recover from following Hurricane Ian. The agenda tonight is to cover our 3 most affected schools as well as our long-term project updates. The 3 most affected schools were Fort Myers Beach Elementary, Hector A. Caffaretta, the Sanibel School, and the long-term project update revolves around all the permanent repairs that need to be completed on our sites. Fort Myers Beach Elementary School, the scope of work continues. Remediation of Building 2, the historical building pictured here, should be completed in the next 2 weeks. An ad hoc committee, which was formed and met on 1/26, have been talking about project themes, options regarding the Fort Myers Beach Elementary School current condition and rebuild have been reviewed. They've been discussing and working with enrollment considerations, looking at new demographic data, not only from our demographer, but from the town itself, providing additional information so that we can have the most accurate considerations moving forward. The next meeting of the ad hoc will be tomorrow on 2/8. And the board presentation regarding updated options for the Fort Myers Beach Elementary School is due to you on February 22nd. Hector Caffaretta, there was a board presentation on 1/24 concerning long-term considerations. It was clear from our board at that time that they were considering option C, but they wanted staff to continue to look at some building option costs, including a progressive roll-in of the students so that we might be able to build as we go, potentially saving us some costs related to the temporary portable campus. There was an updated board presentation on 3/7. The community town hall will be scheduled in March. Following that town hall, to either update on the progress or to provide an opportunity for the town to have for the members of the community to have some additional input regarding the plan for their school. The Sanibel School, the safety checklist is now complete and they are ready to reopen. Student and staff transition plan started a number of days ago, and the school will be reopening tomorrow on 2/8. So the Sanibel students and their faculty will have the opportunity to return to their site. Every day is a bit of progress. A long-term project update. Meetings with the FEMA representatives have been ongoing. As I had said to you previously, we've had our first meeting with FEMA, which starts a clock ticking regarding making sure that all of our paperwork and all of our information is provided. Long-term project timelines are being updated weekly. The example is pictured in front of you as board members and to the public on the screens. 54% of the maintenance service requests related to damage sustained during the Hurricane Ian have been completed. If I might just take a second to orient you to what this particular project update has. This is for every school that's been impacted. It does reside on our website. Clearly, the school category is pretty straightforward. This is an example of what needs to be done at Colusa Middle School. You see the scope. That is actually having somebody out and actually scope the project to make some determinations of what actually needs to be done. To follow up behind the building inspectors to do one final review before we go out to a quote for the work. Once the quote is taken care of, then we can move to a purchase order with all of you to provide the opportunity for our people to work. Then we have to get work authorizations, and then finally we have anticipated start dates and then completion dates. When things move to green, it means that we've started that scope and that status. You'll see that the scope and quotes are underway for a number of the different items. We do have some work to do with some of our roofing consultants in order to move the scope and work forward for all of our buildings regarding roof. This is a way the public can see how the school is progressing against the damage that needs to be permanently fixed at the buildings that have been impacted beyond the 3. Mr. Chair, with that and to the board, that would be the end of my presentation regarding an update of where we stand today with Hurricane Ian.
Thank you, Dr. Bernier. Next on our agenda is public comment. But before we begin public comment this evening, I want the public to know that the school board wants to hear from you and respects your right to come to these meetings to share your thoughts and concerns. Your voice is very important and protected by law and policy. During the public comment period, the school board does not discriminate on speech and its viewpoint is neutral. State law says you have the right to speak on any proposition before the board, such as the action items on the consent agenda. Our policy allows you to speak on any matter dealing with the operation of the school district. However, there is a way to say things. So keep the decorum to allow this board to conduct its official government business. You can say, Mr. Chairman, I disagree with your vote. Superintendent, I have a thought of you on this plan. You can share concerns about your elected officials and how they handle their duties and responsibilities. You can make comments about how the district is functioning. You can even say we're doing a good or a bad job. However, we will not accept personal attacks on staff, school officials, or school board members. For example, calling someone a name. The disclosure has to be elevated and professional, mirroring our responsibilities for approximately 13,000 staff members and close to 100,000 students in our district. Attorney Dupay Bruno, please address the item of public consent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. Please complete a public comment card and put it in the basket provided. If you need a public comment card, they are provided by our staff. The rules concerning public comment are posted in the back and will be made from the podium in the front center aisle. Please be advised that the board will not respond during public comment to remarks made by speaker. Concerns will be addressed by the superintendent or his staff as necessary, and the chair may comment as deemed appropriate at the conclusion of public comment. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on district issues such as duties, responsibilities, decisions, and the general operation of the district. The school board is viewpoint neutral during public comment. We ask that decorum be kept and respect be shown, which is what is expected when a government agency conducts official business. Therefore, abusive language such as cursing, insults, derogatory language levied against an individual or a class of people are prohibited. Further, personal attacks such as name-calling are prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing or a display of temper during public comment is prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order by the board chair or the parliamentarian. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11 and may be removed from the chambers by the Sergeant at Arms. Per Board Policy 1.11, the time per speaker is 3 minutes if there are 20 speakers, 2 minutes if there are 30 speakers, and 1 minute if there are 31 speakers or more. The maximum time allotted for public comment is 1 hour, 60 speakers. You will find a countdown on the big screen in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. Please state your name when you approach the microphone. I will call your names 5 speakers at a time. Please follow staff's direction when lining up. Mr. Chairman, we have 21 speakers signed up today. That will be 2 minutes per speaker.
Thank you. Please make sure you completed a public comment card if you intend to provide public comment. Is there anyone that has not filled out a card and wishes to speak tonight? Seeing none, Attorney Dupay Bruno, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will the following individuals please line up? Caleb Lohman, Vicky Santini, Dr. Doug Santini, Lori Maddy, Robert Daniels.
Good evening. My name is Caleb Lohman. I am a local business owner and a certified financial planner. I've had 3 children that have attended North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. The reason for coming forward again today, since I've seen you already once, is to have a little bit further comment relative to the effect that the proximity plan is going to have on North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. I definitely was encouraged by our superintendent's comments about perhaps making it a magnet school. At the same time, I think that we need to remember that something that's taken over 20 years to be able to build can be destroyed very, very quickly. We looked at the numbers. It looks like there are a possibility, when I spoke to Mr. Malloy, that we could have over 100 students that are going to be new incoming students to the school, given how that's going to affect. We talked earlier today about culture and about what happens when culture changes rapidly. Comments that were made by the board earlier today emphasized how important it is to be able to maintain culture when it's working appropriately and effectively. I think that our plan, if kept as considered, takes the risk of being able to jeopardize that culture that has been built at the school by bringing in students who do not have interest in the arts and do not have that culture built as part of their desired plan. And I can just tell you that that can have serious negative effects. I do not have children that are at the school currently, so I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm here to be able to help you maybe take another look at this and look at what we proposed. The proposal is pretty simple. Open up seats to the elementary school to be able to allow them to be able to have an audition process, approximately 10% of the seats that are going to be available. Make that so that the school has the ability to attract students that are interested in the arts and have that lessen the impact that your current proximity plan has, and be allowing busing for zones B and C.
Doug Santini, thank you, Board, for giving us the opportunity to talk this evening. It's been reported to me by a couple board members that the plan I presented to the superintendent was racist and it was selfish. The plan I presented was the plan we already had in place. And that's not selfish, and I know I'm not racist. Just talk to anyone in the county. The situation with the academy, when you look at, it's not a racist situation. I also know that when we look at the things coming up in the future, the parents and citizens are going to have an opportunity to select their superintendent on August in 2024, and they will decide if it's a person that cares for our students and cares for the area and knows the area. You have to know what's in the area. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lori Model. I am the dance director at North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts and the subject area specialist in dance for the county. I'm also a board member of both FDEO and FAAE. FAAE is the Florida Alliance for Arts Education, who has awarded North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts the status of Arts Model School in all of our arts programs since 2008. One important part of the Arts Model School application is about how important the school community and surrounding communities are to the school and its arts programs. When voting today on the proposed proximity plan, I ask that you take into consideration the proposal in the letter provided to you from Caleb Lohman. I would like to talk about the possibility of approximately 200 students who have learned and grown within our walls. These students who think of NFMAA as a second home will be moved to other schools. It has been thought about how this will affect, has this been thought about how this will affect learning of students who wanted to stay at NFMAA, but may be uprooted because of a bus route. Of course, teachers at NFMAA will welcome any student who comes within our doors, and we will do our darndest to welcome them into the arts and bring them into our fold. But we really want to also keep the culture that we have at the school for students that we know who love the arts. Thank you.
Will the following individuals please line up? Christy DiVigili, Kathy Rivadiniera, my apologies if I mispronounced your name, Angel Dobson, Jennifer Gillen, Joe Gillen.
Hello, my name's Robert Daniels. I've been a teacher with the school district for about 10 years now. This piece of paper I have in front of me is the salary schedule from the year I was hired. I've gone through and adjusted the numbers for inflation. Before I get to the numbers, our mission and vision as a school district is to be a world-class school system. I feel like we need to start asking ourselves whether that's a first world or a second world school system. Because when I look at these numbers, adjusted for inflation, after 10 years, I'm making $150 more in effective purchasing power. It just seems like a lack of delivery on the experience myself and other teachers are bringing. You have very few 10-plus year veterans left when you look at the total number of teachers. It's less than a third of your workforce now. Adjusted for inflation, a 10-year teacher, according to this salary schedule from when I was hired, would currently be making $63,000 a year. I'm nowhere near that. During our bargaining process last night, I listened to most of the meeting. I was unable to be there in person. But the conduct of the bargaining committee, even the refusal to answer direct questions by our TELC president, was very not constructive to serving the best interests of the students and the teachers together. Some of the questions that were left unanswered include what happened to the tens of millions of dollars over the last few years of payroll, that was money assigned to payroll that has been left on the table because of unfilled units. And as many others have pointed out, every teacher that you guys do not hire is a load that the rest of us share. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Rivadeneira. I have been the theater director and educator at North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts for the last 7 years. Both of my daughters have thrived in our unique arts programs, performances, and education. Just tonight, I flew here from the solo and ensemble, musical theater, and choir adjudications at our school, where the judges mistook our middle schoolers as high schoolers because of the quality education that they've gotten at our school. At North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts, we enrich the lives of thousands of students through the arts. The key to our success lies in the socioeconomic diversity of our student body. Currently, NFMAA has a mix of students from different income levels, social backgrounds, racial and ethnic backgrounds. This type of diversity is created by allowing students from different areas of Lee County to attend our school. Please consider making an amendment to your proximity plan that will allow for this important socioeconomic diversity. Hold seats open for students in B zone. Even if only 10% of the population is held open for these students outside of C zone, we will be able to hold tight to our diverse foundation. Please don't allow only students from one area, one background, one income level to fill the available spots, leaving no room for the rich blend we currently have. The school district of Lee County needs to think about what is right for all of our students. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angel Dobson, and I come to you as a parent of a child from North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. And I am also similar to Caleb, that I no longer have a dog in the fight. My son is in middle school now, but what I am here hoping that you'll hear is my heart for those that are like my son that didn't know what the arts could be for him. He is now in middle school, and he has held several positions in the local theater and in professional theater. He also has just recently been scouted by Joffrey's Ballet in New York City. And these were things that we had no idea that our child would thrive in. And so without the school, we live in Cape Coral, that never would have been his path, never would have been something that he tried. And so I'm here hoping that you'll hear my heart for the future parents and those in our area that their children could benefit from this, staying in this school as well. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer. I have two boys, one in Diplomat Elementary, one in Trafalgar Middle. My husband and I, we don't want them late every day for school, and we don't want them home 3 hours late. So we're forced to drive them every day 2 ways, back and forth, which is really difficult with the bus situation. They literally can't ride the bus. It's unreliable. This costs us $150 a week in gas, and then, of course, our time. The parent lines, of course, at elementary, you have to have a parent line. But middle schoolers, they're old enough to walk. They can walk out to a car. There's no consideration at the middle school. At Trafalgar, there's a stop sign, which adds 2 hours or more to the daily drive. And this is every day. So we're on the road a good 5 hours a day. That Trafalgar has a full city block where parents could potentially walk out to a parent's car, get picked up, drop it off that way, and then it would be very easy to keep that parent pickup line just for handicapped children. That's just one school. Most of the schools have the parent pickup line and drop-off line working easily as they do at Diplomat Elementary. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that at that particular school. I do think the school board, if you're not paying bus drivers, pay parents. We need the gas money, you know? And this situation it's horrible. And I don't think I'm the only other parent. It was on the news today. That's why I'm here. I saw it. It's a big issue. The buses are a problem. It needs to be fixed.
Thank you, ma'am. It's 2 minutes per person. Thank you very much. And will the following individuals please line up? Denise Eberl, sorry if I mispronounced your name, Sharon McGill, Jerry Ware, and Joe Phillips.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Gillen. That's my wife Jennifer just spoke. She says most of it, you know, what we have to talk about tonight. All that I can say is, you know, in the beginning of the meeting, I heard education is a vital concern of everybody here. I mean, for my one child to be missed by the bus or driven in late, like an hour late every day, and nobody really caring, you know, it's a big concern. So that is one reason we're driving, you know, our children in. I have the one in Diplomat Elementary, special needs. We drive him off, we drop him off, we go over to Trafalgar, we drop my son off. I mean, and my wife did say the parent line, it's ridiculous, the parent line. I mean, over at the middle school, I mean, we do save time being able to drop him, because if I have to stay in the parent line too, my son's still going to be late for school every day. It's ridiculous that the system right now is how it's set up. I mean, something's got to be done. I mean, we've been going at this for last year, this year, and I hope something will be done. I mean, we did vote this year. We voted for Mr. Fisher, Ms. Fleming, and I really hope that everything gets changed here, and quickly, because it is an emergency with the kids' education. So, thank you.
Good evening, Christy DiVigili. You know, I wasn't sure if I was going to speak tonight, as the items I had questions about were pulled from the agenda. But as I sat in the lobby, I watched innocent person after innocent person unknowingly comply with an unlawful search of their person and effects, which is a direct violation of the Fourth Amendment. To add insult to injury, these innocent people were wanted and searched in front of their children. Notice how I said innocent persons. I did that on purpose because in the state of Florida, We are innocent until proven guilty, and we are protected by both our state and federal constitutions, which clearly state that it is the right of the people to be secure in their persons and effects against unreasonable searches, and that right shall not be violated. And no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. Do you have probable cause to search every individual that walked through the doors this evening? No. No, you do not. The statement that was made by the chairperson before the public comment tonight also violates our rights. You don't have the right to tell us what we're allowed to talk about. Let's not go down this road again. It is not a pretty one. We the people have had enough. I know each one of you has one of these. Read it. Good night.
Hello, I'm Denise Eberly. I agree with everything she just said. and she's exactly correct. The other reason I'm here is the school busing. I have 3 grandchildren in the schools. Either the bus is 2 hours late coming in, or we drive her to school in the morning because she has to go for early care. But I never know what bus is bringing her back, and never know what time that bus is going to get there. And I guess you have that school bus tracker. That hasn't been working since the kids started going back to school. So now I really can never tell when my granddaughter is getting to her bus stop. So I could be sitting there for an hour. Secondly, I think this needs to end. It's time to end this school lottery, this school student assignment stuff, and sending children all over the county. I'm guessing it's based on their culture, race, diversity, equity, inclusion, stuff that's going on right now. It's costing us a fortune. It's sending children on bus rides that don't need to be longer, that are an hour long, which is ridiculous. I am 2 miles away from a school that my granddaughter cannot get into. This has to end. It's time. I understand they want their academy and stuff like that, have the kids still go to that school. Well, I think it's time that why is it that schools can't offer the same curriculum in each school? I don't know. I went to school and I had arts, entertainment, music, all kinds of stuff in my school, and all the other schools had the same thing. We didn't have to go to a special school to get that kind of an education. Extracurricular activities, curriculums.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Will the following individuals please line up? Julian Warner, Deanna Boss, Kathy Mayo, Dr. Sam Stewart, Tara Jenner, and Dr. Madeline Stewart.
Good evening. First thing I'd like to do is to apologize to the dais for that I allowed myself to be pulled into the rabbit hole that happened at the last meeting. It was beneath me, and I apologize for that. But you know what? Nobody, not one of you, whether I disagree with you or not, on the dais deserves to be treated that way. They don't deserve to be called names, and they don't deserve to be rated. And I would say that about any one of you. And so, Chairman Persons, I appreciate the comments that you made tonight regarding that. Now, the last meeting I brought up HB 1467, and I mistakenly called it HB 1467. And what's happening with the media specialists and with books in the school libraries and the classrooms. I don't know if it's been communicated with the teachers yet and the schools, but I think the teachers deserve to know because there's a lot going on with this. And they deserve to have some kind of comfort in knowing the district is supporting them and how they're being supported. And that when it comes down to implementing this, our policy 2.18 is so important. And we had a short discussion about this, that it should be separated into two policies. 2.181 that deals with classroom books and library books, and the other into actual instructional materials, because they are both treated and vetted differently. So that should be handled when this gets reviewed again. Thank you.
You want to go, Jerry? Go ahead, baby. Okay. You go. I'll go next.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Ware. Change is inevitable. And once again, our students will be subjected to change as it relates to the proximity plan. These proposed plans were presented in the communities. However, I don't believe that enough of our parents in the Dunbar community attended. So therefore, when this plan is implemented at the beginning of the school year, once again, they will not understand what has to be done. One of the requirements is the use of focus. At the beginning of the school year, I expressed my concern with the requirements that all parents must be able to utilize focus to get their child's report card. That should not be. All parents do not have access, and it should not be a requirement either for proximity plan. However, I do want to say that there are some of us in the community who have taken it upon ourselves to say that we will work with my man, Dr. Malloy, and how to best inform our parents in the Dunbar community of how to implement that proximity plan. One of the ladies before me said she didn't have a dog in the fight. I do. All of our children are my dogs in the fight, and I'm here to fight for them. So as I close, I say to you, Dr. Vernier, thanks for going to Franklin Park. Didn't think I knew you were going today, did you?
My name's Smoking Joe. The student representative gave out a word today, and it was honesty, and I know many of you ain't good with that word. I'm going to propose we get a new word this month. How about the word kakistocracy? I'll spell that for you, Armor. It's K-A-K-I-S-T-O-C-R-A-C-Y. I'll use in a sentence for you. This board is the worst kakistocracy Lee County has ever seen. The board has become impossible to underestimate. I'm not insulting the members of the board. I'm just describing how you are to the public. Painfully, we come to express our concerns and grievances with the officials empowered to act on our behalf when a simple request for the board to do a forensic audit is not addressed. It increases speculation of corruption. Over $80,000 of our taxpayer money is spent on investigation. Does not one of you have the ethical values to send their findings to the Federal Department of Education Office and Inspector General's office? Matter of fact, if it's needed, I have Special Agent Chris Hesberger's contact information I can give to you if you need. He would do this investigation without a cost to us at all. Why we don't use that, I don't know. Armour mentioned a 32-page report in the last action meeting. I want the public to know that his vague reference is about the Taylor English investigation. These investigations from a Georgia company found sufficient evidence of corruption to recommend the matter be turned over to law enforcement. Board members with ties to vendors and local law enforcement is by far a conflict of interest, and clearly only fools will accept another round of this self-investigation. I was going to also address the pulled motion of policy 2.0622, student and parent complaints. I'm glad to hear that the board attorney had enough sense to pull this policy. This is stupidity at a level beyond belief. For the parents of special needs, students can be tragic. For other students,
Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
30 days for their educational experience.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm
Phillips.
sorry if our children's education isn't where y'all leave it.
Good evening. My name is Julianne Warner. I'm a mother of a kindergartner who just started with this school. And the question I have is, I was not able to find when open enrollment is for our children that may have to switch schools. And if there is a possibility that because they're forced out of the school, if they're not being able to be transported, if they're given first priority, if that was something to think about, if we're moving the child to another school, that there would be a first priority. Another thing that is happening right now, the zone that I live in, and we moved to this area because we had a lot of different options in school, and my son is going to Rimouski Page, which is not a school that is in our zone. It's an A-rated school, and in the zone that we're currently in, there's only C-rated schools. So we have 4 schools available to us, but all of them are C-rated. So then the other question is, if we're not getting first choice on the school that is the closest to us, which I would be perfectly fine. If I would fly to that school, it would be 1 mile away from us, but driving is 7 miles. But nevertheless, I wouldn't mind putting my child into Treeline Elementary, but that's a C-rated school, but if I get any other school option for that lottery, meaning I would rather have him stay at Rima. But then will I lose my spot, or will he lose his A-rated spot if we go into open enrollment? Another question is if the school is filled, so how do we know that there's enough spots in our zone? So that's zone J, and it grew a lot, and there's only, let's say, 4,000 spots. What if?
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Deanna Boss. I have 3 children that are currently at Rimouski Page. We've been invested in their education, and we have made the school a part of our community, building relationships, friends, great support, and more. Some of our children have special needs, and these teachers and staff had made them grow tremendously. Moving our kids would hurt them. Having to start all over at a new school is hard enough. They don't know anybody. We want to keep them with the friends in the neighborhood. We require transportation and we moved into our community because we knew Rama was an option. Please do not change school zones and keep our children at the same school. There's about 20 kids in our community that are currently going. Some are being parent pickup, some are on the bus, but our kids know everybody and they're friends. They love each other. Please keep them together at the same school so they can build that relationship and have confidence in themselves with a culture that's constantly changing. If this proximity plan doesn't produce results, will zones be redrawn again and families forced to displace their kids just to be allowed transportation to new zones? Like I said, you hear parents talking about having to transport. Fortunately for me, I can't drive. It's not an option. I have to rely on transportation. So I can see being late. Sometimes I'm late for work, but what can you do? I got to get my kids to school. So right now, the most important thing for me is keep the family, the community that they're building together. We want these children to grow with friends, making friends. I don't want them to have to go to another school. They don't know anybody. You know, it's hard with the internet and social media. Please keep them. I just want them to be successful. So, thank you.
Hello, I'm Kathy Mayo. I'm a retired librarian, and I'm here today because I'm concerned about a policy you all are working on for book selection. And I was rather distressed when I saw that it doesn't seem to include the very people who are the most knowledgeable about this. You have school media specialists, you have teachers that are intimately familiar with the curriculum, with the children, with their reading skills, and yet it seems like there's a lot of pressure from outside, from political and religious interests that want a certain outcome for this policy. Use the people in your system. I have a master's degree. That's the basic education level for a librarian. I have years of experience. Use the folks in your schools that have that kind of experience. They deal with this every day. Parents have a slightly different role, and it's mainly to be informed and to guide the choices for their students. It's perfectly fine if a parent wants to opt out of a required reading. They have their values and they have their reasons, but it's not okay for parents to ban materials for other students. That just doesn't work. I had an experience when I was growing up in the 9th grade. I went to a parochial school, and that school in world history class had one paragraph on the Inquisition. Now, I was smart enough to know that that made no sense at all.
Thank you, Ms. Mayo.
Think about the impact on our kids.
I'm Sam Stewart, and I'm here for two major reasons. One is I want to praise the board. I think many of us who watch you and who talk to others who watch you are really pleased with the respect you're showing to one another, and I think that's going to rub off on a lot of other people. So I wanted to praise the board, first of all. And secondly, I'm here to praise books. I think everybody here can agree that the ability to read is the most powerful predictor of success in school and in later life. And the real key to reading is not just teaching kids the phonics, but it's getting people to read and to enjoy reading and to read for a lifetime. In my school district, I asked, I can't guarantee they all did it, but I wanted them every day to spend up to 15 minutes of reading something that they cared about, something they were excited about, and then giving kids an opportunity to share also. So it isn't just the phonics, it's really the books and that rich and meaningful curriculum. And when I hear about book binding, I just want to mention to you that some of the books that have been banned, Great Gatsby was banned. That's meant so much to me in my life. I'm watching the clock. The Grapes of Wrath, and The Wizard of Oz and A Farewell to Arms have been banned at different places. So when I hear people talking about that, I say, wait a second. We want children to understand that there are books and that they can find meaning for themselves. And I do have one last quote, and that is, books give us the tools not only to achieve, but they give us the inspiration.
Hi, everybody. I'm Madeline Stewart. I'm following the other Dr. Stewart in my life. I came here to praise you also. First of all, I came to praise Dr. Bernier. I think he is doing an absolutely wonderful job at an incredibly difficult time. And I think he exemplifies what a professional educator can do in the face of extreme hardships. I also want to praise the teachers. I saw a Facebook post today from a young woman I know, Madison France, who teaches second grade. I don't know which school, but she posted the most beautiful things about caterpillars and how her milkweed, and it was marvelous. And I thought, this is the kind of thing that everybody in Lee County needs to know more about, the good news about what's going on with teachers and children in classrooms. And I also want to praise the board, because I have to say, I think you have a very hard job. And what I think is, I mean, I'm sure the newcomers to the board, having been the wife of a superintendent, I understand a little bit of the complexities of what goes on in the world of schools. And I'm sure the board members had no idea they were going to have so much homework, because there is so much complexity to keep up on. And so thank you for your time and for giving really all your knowledge and care, because the decisions you make now are so critically important to our students. So I don't have children in your school. I'm a great-grandmother, and I have a doctorate in teacher education and curriculum. So I care deeply about children's learning and what happens to them in schools. And I've been in lots and lots of different schools in my life. I want to say I need to understand more about how your book policy is.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart, Dr. Stewart.
So that's my question. Is there a timeline?
Thank you, Dr. Stewart.
Tara Jenner, and just so you know, if you guys don't have people get closer to this microphone or move it forward, people in the back can't hear you no matter how high they turn this thing up. In 1993, I was stationed in Korea as a judge advocate in the United States Air Force, and one of the cases I had was to prosecute a captain who was an intel officer. And the charges were conduct unbecoming an officer, fraternization, which means having sexual relationships with someone within your chain of command, subordinate to you, and adultery. The jury acquitted her even though the evidence was extremely clear. And afterwards, we polled the jury to find out why, and their answer was simple. Why should we hold a captain to the standards under the UCMJ when the President of the United States was having his time of his life with Monica Lewinsky? What happens on this dais and the level of presentation that you guys do and the quality of things that you do is going to directly reflect the people that are subordinate to you in this district. And the students, the teachers, the staff are all going to go, if they can get away with it, why shouldn't we? And you know what? The answer is really simple. There shouldn't be a double standard, but the standard needs to be at the top here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage this board to reconsider their decision regarding bullying training only for Ms. Patrica, because your board policy 4.14 and the student code of conduct holds students, teachers, and staff to a way higher level. And Mr. Bruno, you and I don't agree on a lot of things, but I can't even imagine how it is to sit in this area with not only Ms. Patrica, who has bullied you, but another number of board members who have condoned it and acted.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes public comment.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Next is the approval of action items in the agenda under consent. The documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to board members 7 business days prior to the board meeting. We are expected to review all the material, and we have the opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under unfinished business table items portion of the agenda? Mr. Fisher?
No.
Ms. Giovanelli?
I have none.
Mr. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Ms. Jordan?
I have none. Thank you.
Ms. Langford Fleming?
I have none.
Ms. Morgan?
I have none.
And I have none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent action items with the exception of the, well, since there are no exceptions, to approve the consent agenda items? Mr. Fisher?
Motion to approve consent agenda is posted.
And second?
Second it.
Ms. Jordan. Moved by Mr. Fisher and seconded by Ms. Jordan. Please record your vote. The motion carries 7-0. Dr. Bernier, please introduce any administrators in attendance with a new assignment that was approved under our consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, there are 2 administrators present in the room tonight and 2 members on the agenda. One will be joining us now as the official director of professional standards. That is Fernando Vasquez. The other gentleman is a current assistant principal at Orange Marsh Middle School who will be rising to the rank of principal for the new middle school, the Old Lambs Middle School QQ, to be named at a later event, Joey Restino. Mr. Chair, I've always appreciated the extra second you give me to speak to both candidates. These movements of your professional careers to the principles that you are, to the positions you are now taking, is a great symbol of the trust of this superintendent and of this board. There's no greater value that you receive moving forward in your careers than the trust that's been bestowed upon you. There's an expectation, as I've said to every candidate, that we earn that trust every single day by action and by deed. So please keep that in mind as you start glorious new stages in your careers. Joey Restino, very happy for you and your family. Thank your family for attending, because family is a huge part, and take a good look at him now, because he's going to be very busy over the next few months. And to Fernando, same to you and your family. Thank you for the family that you have that supports you in the process of doing your work as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Dr. Bernier, please present your recommendation for this evening's public hearing.
Mr. Chair, my recommendation is the approval for item P1, approval to adopt the student enrollment plan for 2023-2024 in compliance with the changes and related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practice and promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be February 8, 2023.
We will now recess the regular school board meeting and open the public hearings. This time is 7:08 p.m. As indicated, the public hearings this evening are to consider Dr. Bernier's recommendation as previously stated. At this time, the public will be invited to speak on one item. The time allowed for public comment is 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the board regarding the approval to adopt the student enrollment plan for 2023 and 2024? See, 1, 2.
Dr. Doug Santini. I was listening to the workshop or briefing this afternoon, and I noticed that Mrs. Patrica mentioned that we've done a great job because we don't have a lot of people that are coming to the situation with this proximity plan. Well, my feeling is they don't know about it. I can tell you I've talked to at least 50 different people that did not know about it in the last week. I told them about it and told them what was happening with it, but they did not know about it at all. So when the principal calls and tells you that your child will have to leave if you don't provide transportation to that school, it's going to hit the fan. People are very concerned about their kids and the schools they're in. When you pick up a little kindergartner or first grader and move them to another school, it's going to be something else. Their kids have been in uproar all over the United States because of the COVID and the hurricane hit here. These are pulling kids out of safe environments. I wish you good luck.
Good evening again, Caleb Lohman. We've spoken before. Just want to reiterate the power of unintended consequences. I spoke with about this topic with Mr. Malloy as we were conversing about the changes that are going to happen relative to proximity and the proximity plan you're looking to adopt. I'm actually a proponent of the plan, okay? I think that from a transportation standpoint, we have a really big problem when it comes to our transportation issues here, and you're making strides to be able to do a positive thing to be able to address that, and you've heard people talk about that today as we've listened. At the same time, there are going to be unintended consequences, and those unintended consequences can have significant issues. So if we look back, and you just said, you know, we wear seatbelts today, right? So the government passed seatbelt laws to be able to help make sure that people were safe when they were in cars. And I think that's an admirable thing to be able to do. But if you look at the statistics relative to it, more people died in traffic accidents, right? Why? Well, because people drove faster because they thought they were safe in their cars. Today, you're working to be able to implement a plan that's going to be able to ostensibly help our community be able to get our children to good schools and to improve those schools and to be able to help the transportation issue. We need to do that. Again, I'm here not from a selfish reason, but because for the arts, and specifically for North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts, that is going to be detrimental to that school. And once that inertia hits that school, you're not going to be able to turn that back around and fix it. So if you don't do something today to be able to address it, what's going to happen is the arts program that you talked about from a leadership perspective earlier today, that program is going to be heavily impacted as you have an influx of students that are going to come to the school who have no inclination for the arts whatsoever. Okay, and then you're going to pull from that, okay, frankly, from a group of people who are going to be most impacted are those that have to transport their kids themselves. And so when my children went there, we lived out in Buckingham and then on Sanibel, and I was more than willing to transport my children to that school because of the education and the arts and the power that the combination brought together. Your problem that you're facing is very simple. As you make this choice, you're going to influx a bunch of students who don't have that as a priority, okay? And if they don't have it as a priority, it's not going to be impactful to them, and it's going to be detrimental to the school as they look at the ability to be able to produce in the arts takes commitment to that art. And when that's missing, you're going to have a big problem. The secondary portion of that is the people who are going to be most disenfranchised are the socioeconomically underprivileged, okay, and those of minorities who are not going to have the opportunity to be able to be at that school because they're not in Zone C. So when you look at Zone C, you need to take a good look at what those impacted zones are going to be.
Good evening. My name is Vicki Santini. The problem is this: people don't know about the plan. You don't see any press here today. You don't see the news here advertising this. People don't know the difference between boundaries and proximity. They got it all mixed up. I went to an affair on Friday and Thursday. I talked to over 50 people. They didn't know anything about it. My husband went up to Tampa a couple of weeks ago with 40 families. They didn't know nothing about it. We says, well, we heard you were calling the superintendent about carpool. We don't know anything about it. And that's one of the problems. They don't know about it. So you look at the academy, they have 400 elementary students. 250 of them are going to be affected by this change. You need to really think about what you're doing.
Hello, I know I spoke earlier, but something that I wanted to mention as well is, I know we're about 20 kids in our community that are traveling right now to Rhema, but we found out because another child is going to be enrolling, and that's how a parent found out about it. And I noticed that there's not many parents here, and the parents that I've spoke to a lot of people are not aware. And when I called last week, because I noticed that today is a meeting, a board meeting, it only said online that there's a meeting on February 7th. It did not say where it was located or what time that meeting is going to be. After I spoke with a representative for about 15 minutes, she finally found that there's a meeting tonight and that it's at 6 o'clock. That's when I called the school board. That's when I notified some other parents. Obviously, a lot of parents have to watch their children. They still have to do homework. I'm fortunate enough that I have parents that can watch my child while I'm here. But I just don't believe that there's enough parents that are actually aware of what that proximity plan is doing or how it is. I do believe that it will help this community because traffic is horrendous, and for parents to drive every single day is not going to be helpful, and it's not good for our environment either. I do believe that school buses are important for our kids to get to school. I don't know a solution for how this is going to work out, and I do think that there's going to be changes in each school here in this area because we're changing kids to different schools. I do believe that you do have to make another move to make the public aware what's going on. When I thought proximity, I only thought of if a school is about 10 miles away, I'm not going to be affected. I did not realize that I will have 4 schools that are currently C-rated in my community. And that makes a big difference. Technically, like I mentioned, I would only be a mile away from a school, but that's just if you turn on Google for a second, but you don't put actually into Drive. And all the other schools are about 9 miles away from where we live. So it really didn't matter if I'm going to go to Colonial or if I'm going to go to Rhema Page because they're all about 9 miles away. So please take that in consideration too, if we really have to switch into zones or look how far are kids really away from where they live from schools, rather than putting us in different boxes. Thank you.
Tara Jenner. As hopefully you know by now, Article 9 of the Florida State Constitution is labeled the education section. And Section 1 specifically says, adequate provision shall be made for a uniform, efficient, high-quality system of free public schools that allows students to obtain a high-quality education for the establishment, maintenance, and operation of institutions of higher learning and public education programs and so forth. So you guys are in a bit of a catch-22. You've got a transportation issue, and then you also have this proximity issue. And I think you kind of jumped forward. You had a couple of school board candidates that gave you an answer and you guys didn't listen to it. And that was simple. Do a forensic audit of what the facilities have available first. Make sure that each zone that you're going to create for proximity has at least one school or enough schools, depending upon the population, to provide at least one location for every particular type of program that is acceptable for the families, whether it's the arts or something else. You didn't do that. And so now you've got people on both sides of this argument gritching at you. I would encourage you to consider, look there, spend your money wisely there, and make sure if you're going to do a proximity plan, that at least the schools in each of those regions have a minimum of one school that has all the functions that they no longer may have because of the way things are divvied up. Just throwing that out there for something for you to consider. It's not an easy answer, and I don't envy you the choice that you have to make in this. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing and reconvene the regular school board meeting of February 7th, 2023. The time is 7:19. Dr. Manier, please restate your recommendations for this evening's public hearing item.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, members of the community, item P1 is the approval to adopt the student enrollment plan for 2023-2024 in compliance with the changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be February 8th, 2023.
Board members, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve? Mrs. Patrica?
I move that we approve the student enrollment plan for 23-24.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Fisher? Is there any discussion? Ms. Patrica?
Thank you. If I may, through the chair, ask the superintendent?
Sure.
Dr. Bernier, there were several comments in the audience tonight, some tangentially related, specifically Trafalgar and Diplomat parents. Do we have someone on staff who's tracking that and going to get back in touch? There was a lady, I don't know her name, who spoke during public comment and again, and she had a lot of questions about proximity. Are we going to have someone on staff follow up with those people, please?
Yes, in fact, in some cases, those people have already been followed up with, and they left with contact information for tomorrow. When it comes to the way I heard it, Trafalgar Middle might have some additional problems. I've already reached out to our operations people regarding traffic studies and other things to ensure that we can look at that. I did get from the public comment, we'll go back and rewatch it, that the situation at Diplomat Elementary was one that was more positive.
Yes,
and maybe
I
we
agree.
can look at that as a role model.
I agree. I was just using those two schools as identifiers for those parents, so you would know who I was talking about. And then also, this afternoon during the briefing, Dr. Bernier, you addressed the North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts issue, and I'm comfortable with the answer that you gave this afternoon. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli?
Dr. Bernier, I do have a couple questions. You talked earlier about the possibility of North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts being a magnet program and looking into that sooner rather than later. Why can't we do it now? What's stopping us from doing that now, before or at the same time with the proximity plan? And let me just also state that I do support the proximity plan. I just am concerned over the arts program at North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. Thank you.
As I said earlier this afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
As I said earlier this afternoon, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts is a gem of a program. It could be the diamond in the crown of, if you will, of the school district of Lee County. To some other people who spoke tonight, but all schools should have a viable arts program. They won't rival what North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts can do, but every child, based upon where they go to school and where they're located with this community, deserves the opportunity to art, fine arts, drama, music, orchestra, strings. It becomes a matter of ensuring that a whole child is educated. So that's first and foremost. That there have been other comments made tonight about we have to ensure that each zone and each school has certain programming. That is the goal of this. The goal is to expose some of those areas and then drive our expenses and drive our ability to develop those programs within each and every school. Again, it'll never be a North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. That is a very specific program. So what I said today was, first, let's get on the same page of what a magnet is, because everybody would define it differently, and I would like to define that with the community. So my envision of a magnet school is an area where kids from all of Lee County could choose to go to school there. I've been associated with other systems, let me be candid, where no transportation was provided for those types of systems. They lived solely upon a parent's ability to get their children to those sites. I've also worked in systems where we worked what I referred to as a spoke and hub transportation system. A spoke being the route that the bus travels, the hub being the place where a parent would deliver their students. It could be a parking lot at a Walmart, it could be a Publix, it could be a local area where kids could be safe, that our transportation system would look at that stop, parents would congregate there, children would then be picked up and transported, so that we can find the operational efficiencies moving forward. To the people who spoke to busing so poignantly tonight, our system is broken. There's no question about it. And we need to do something different, or 3,000 children who are going to be late every day right now is going to increase exponentially. So we've got to do something different, and I appreciate the board's direction with that. I think we can look at North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts, but I would like you to begin with this process in mind, that we have to start this process. And you did that tonight by your vote. We will now look at what is transpiring with those grandfathered children. We suspect that, yes, there could be an impact, but we'd like to see how many of those parents are choosing to drive themselves. We may be solving an issue we don't have right now. But if it starts to materialize, we are going to need to intervene sooner rather than later. So each week, we will have updates regarding the number of parents who are choosing to grandfather. If they grandfather, the school will be stable. The enrollment will stay almost identical to what it currently has. If it doesn't stabilize, then we may have to come back to the board for an exception to the rule.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli?
So thank you. I think this is, I'm going to put it a little different way. I think we have to rip the Band-Aid off. And I think that the only way people are going to listen is when they have to enroll their child and find out that their options are going to be different. So I hear what everyone's saying, that they don't know, and I understand that, but parents they're not going to pay attention until they have to. So that's back to ripping the Band-Aid off. If this plan doesn't work, I want everybody to contact every one of these board members, not me, and tell them that. But no, yes, contact me. But let us know, because that's the only way we can make a difference or make a change, is for you to communicate that. And I'll be the first to be your advocate for that and to champion that. So, but at this point, I think we have to rip the Band-Aid off. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I do.
Ms. Jada Flynn?
I first and foremost want to go back and address this afternoon. I do agree that your comment, Dr. Bernier, I agree with your comment about proximity. I do support the plan. I know many of you in the audience do actually support this plan. I do believe that there are going to be some bumps in the road along the way, some tweaking, if you will, but we won't know until we put this into play. I am hoping, and if not, recommending strongly that we do the very best we can as a Lee County School District to make sure that every parent has been communicated with, whether if it means we have to put letters in the mail, texts. I definitely want to make sure that every parent knows before it's time, before June 1st or whatever the date is, because I don't have that written down, that they are well aware that there may be a change, a huge change in their family, and transportation issues could arise. I also want to piggyback off of, I believe Mrs. Werner was talking about a school where children were in a neighborhood going to another school. I am confident that with this new proximity plan, those areas that have C schools only, I've received several emails where there were only C schools available in their proximity. I am someone that's I try to look at the glass half full, and I feel that those C schools are going to rise because we are making great leadership changes from the top, and that those C schools will rise from C to B to A. So I'm confident that that will not stay stagnant throughout the district. We had a wonderful workshop the other day with our 3 masters over here of the 3 schools that we're working on, and I think that bleeding through the district is going to change some schools that have been known to have those C or D ratings. And then just one more thing. I know that this has been marinating in my mind for the last month or so. North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts is an incredibly special place. I have been a part of this school district, and I cannot tell you how many emails that I would receive as a teacher about the wonderful plays and the chorus and the dance and all the events that they have held. And Veterans Park Academy of the Arts, this Veterans Park art school as well, and we had that magnet school for so long, Edison Park, as many of us know, which was such a gem. As I said in the beginning, I do believe that there might be some tweaking to this plan once we dive into it. Some things are going to have to be worked out. I would love to see in the future, as this plan flourishes, at least in 4 quadrants, if you will, a school that is similar to a North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts, so that way within every, I know we're not doing north, south, east, and west zones anymore. I understand that. But I do believe that there is such a unique opportunity for students in schools like North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts and using them as a prototype, if you will, and replicate that throughout the district, even if that was in the north side, the south side, the east side, and the west side, and possibly providing transportation, or going back to when we did have Edison Park where students auditioned to come in, because I do know that we have so many talented individuals, and I'll save that for my public comment towards the end, or excuse me, my briefing at the end. But I just wanted to make that I just wanted the public to know how much North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts means to me. Also, the students of Lee County appreciate everything that the staff has done there, and I look forward to a day where we see copies of that throughout the district.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. I agree with my fellow board members' comments up here. First, I want to start by thanking Dr. Bernier, Mr. Ramirez, and Dr. Malloy. This is an undertaking that's probably one of the biggest changes in decades in this school district. So I want to thank you for doing that, and I'm sure it's not been easy to shepherd through these times with this. And I agree with Member Juvenelli that we need to rip the Band-Aid off. And you know, I understand. I had to tell a family member the other day that their kid is not going to have transportation. So that was a fun conversation for me to have. And, you know, so I understand that part from that aspect. But I also understand the part of the other part with busing. My son used to attend a school in Northeast Cape at one point. We lived up there. And we moved to a different part of Cape Coral. And we tried to transfer him over, was unable to, because it was considered within the same zone at that point. And both my wife and I, because of working full-time, had him on the bus at that point. And I've been through having him on the bus at that point for 45 minutes, an hour and a half, buses not showing up. So I completely get that part of it and understand why we're doing it, because this model was not sustainable. And frankly, there's not another way to do it. I think this will also strengthen our neighborhoods in many facts. I mean, that's a big aspect that I've gotten from a lot of people I've talked to all over the place, you know, at their houses, at the soccer field, at their businesses. I know that's a big proponent of this, or component of this, excuse me. So I know it may not be easy in the beginning, but it is the right thing to do. It's going to be tough, but we will be in a much better place with this. In regards to North Fort Myers Academy of Arts, I've met with many people, including Dr. Santini. I really do appreciate the time you took to explain and go through things. That is very vital, that program, and I've gotten assurances again from the administration and Dr. Bernier up here that we will keep an eye on that, and we need to, because that is a very important program, and I agree with everyone up here. So that's my comments for now, but I just want to say thank you for everyone for guiding this. Thanks.
Any other comments? Mrs. Jordan.
Thank you. And as well, I agree with most of the things that have been said up here. However, I do still have, I understand the need to do this, but I still have concerns about this when I look at, and I've made mention of those many times, how we have some schools that have just 3 schools in the not the zone, the attendance zone, and then we have maybe 6 in another where we're taking kids from one end of the county to the next. So that's always going to be a concern of mine. And as well as Mr. Fisher said, I've had to tell many family members and just people that I know that your kid's probably not going to be at that school unless you have a way to get them there. But even that, I do believe that there's many people, many parents that do not know that this has taken place. And if I have to knock on doors, I'll be willing to go up and down the streets and knock on doors to make sure that we are getting all that information out, because I know no matter what we do, a lot of times, not necessarily are they going to even see that. But if I may, through the chair, there was a question, and I think that was answered at one of our meetings. If we do not have capacity at a school, they would move into the next zone, correct? If we don't have capacity in those zones, because at this point in time, we really don't know what that's going to look like until it actually happens.
There was a discussion that we had. Because of this situation, I want to be 100% accurate in how I respond to that question.
Okay.
And right now, I'm not 100% sure. I will get the answer before my comments this evening so I can make sure you have an answer. The staff member that I need is probably out talking to one of the other parents. I just want to be 100% sure before I read something like that into the record.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is because I know one of the parents had asked that question. That's I think it was the J attendance area. So if they were not able to meet, because everything is about capacity. So if we're at this moment in time, we do not know what that's going to look like. So until we get all the numbers and we get closer down, at that time we would know that, hey, we're not going to have any more room in any of our schools. So we go to the next zone or whatever that looks like. So that's why
The short non-answer to your question is we will ensure that all children have an opportunity to go to school, and if the zone is full and we have to provide transportation to make that happen, we would do that. But our goal is to get our children closer to home and to reduce the number of routes so that we can get to students to school on time and work with that final tier, which is our middle schools, to ensure that we're not getting kids home at 7:30 and 8 o'clock at night, and our bus drivers not back to the compound around that same time. So I'll have an answer for you.
Okay, and then along with that, if I may.
Yes.
And I think the other question was, would they lose their spots? So if they were to, say if I chose to go ahead and put in for my child to attend XYZ, but they're going to, I'm going to say Edison Park. They're at Edison Park right now, but I'm going to choose for them to go in a different zone because Edison Park is me driving them. Would I then lose that spot if I do not get them in there? Because I thought at one time we said that they would not lose their spot. That was a question that was asked.
There's a possibility you could lose your spot in that case. On capacity, the zones were built to meet the capacity for the next 5 to 10 years. So we looked with the demographic information to ensure we could have enough seats. We did add, at the board's request, designated adjacent language if capacity is an issue. So we would go back and ensure that children would have choice. If they can't land within their zone, we would use adjacent zones to ensure that student has a place to go to school.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Thank you, Dr. Bernier.
All right. I just would like to add, I've been watching the news. They aren't here tonight. At least I don't see any. They have a different take on this. They're saying that we're doing this to save money. If the bus system was working perfectly and we decide to do this, that might be a good argument. But the reason we're doing this is not to save money. The reason we're doing this is the system, the busing transportation system, is broken. We're the 19th largest transporter of students in the nation, and we cannot sustain that. We have 3,000 kids every day showing up to school late and getting home late. And that is not sustainable. And next year, it probably won't be 3,000. It probably won't even be 6,000. It could be 10,000 because we're growing. So the reason we're doing this is because we can't sustain it. Will it save some money? Yes. Will we put that money back into the kids' education? Absolutely. So I just wanted to add that. Seeing no other discussion, board members, will you record your vote? The motion passes 7-0. Next, we'll have the good of the order, which is board members' comments and reports. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to reiterate from the briefing today, I went to the, this morning at the Lee Civic Center, the Drug House Odyssey that is held by the Drug Free Coalition of Southwest Florida here. Had a great experience with students over there. Again, it shows students using law enforcement and first responders consequences of things they do, for example, drinking and driving in real life situations. They have a family night for tomorrow night out at the Civic Center, and I would encourage anyone and their kids to attend. So outside of that, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to let Kristen go next.
Okay. Thank you. Members of the Lee County School Board, students, and all those in attendance tonight, I'd like to sincerely thank you all for the opportunity to serve as a student representative for this board action meeting. Having been a member and officer of the Lee County School District Student Advisory Committee for 3 years now, I have come to have a deep respect for this county, its students and staff, and for the aspects of local government and how change, rather direct change, happens in this very room and throughout the many offices of this building each and every day. However, being the healthy democracy that we are, refutation to the decisions made concerning students and their daily lives is necessary to balance the movement that flows from your governance, the honorable members of the Lee County School Board. I come today not to criticize you, as I do not know the stress that each of you endure in your work of governing a 90,000 plus student strong district. Instead, I am before you today to bring to your attention an issue that is facing your students and the prospective grassroots solution that I believe you should consider as you work to improve our district for every student, kindergarten through 12th grade and beyond. This issue to address is one of immense sensitivity, and it's an issue I've addressed before. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 1 in 5 women will experience sexual violence at some point in their lifetime. And for men, it is 24.8%. Even more disheartening, though, is that 1 in 3 women will experience this violence for the first time between the ages of 11 and 17, and for men, it is 1 in 4. The major factor behind sexual violence is not just the heinous act itself, but it is that this is the one issue that is never explicitly addressed on most levels of government. Victims, because of their harrowing experiences, often feel uncomfortable to come forward and use the voice that was once silenced to speak out against their perpetrators, and often the very justice system that does not work in the best interest of these victims. As a school board, there is not much legislatively that can be done to combat the occurrence of this violence. However, there is still a door to be opened. If this board, with the assistance of the many active student leaders ready to advocate as I and many others do, utilizes our collective voice as a district we can open the dialogue to move toward legislative victories and higher levels of government that can bring justice to those who deserve it and serve it to those who are most at fault. But it starts with this district. It starts with us. In my experience in student leadership, it is never those who decide that an issue is somehow too much to do anything about that make the difference. It is never those who shy away from a speech that ever get noticed. And it is never those who choose to be bystanders, because that is absolutely the easiest option. But it is those who take the small step toward a greater movement that change lives, that change policy, that change our community. I implore this board to explore the possibility of enacting a district-wide campaign against sexual violence, and I do so on behalf of the many people victimized every single day. Before I conclude, after listening to public comment, school safety is now a clear issue to be addressed. Lock lights out of sight is a saying that I've become accustomed to. Training to duck and cover from bullets in my classroom is now a norm for me and my friends that I care for so deeply. A metal detector at the door isn't enough, if anything. Being searched at the door isn't enough, if anything. We now live in a society where it's very likely where myself or my fellow students, if we walk in the door of our school at the start of the day, there's no longer an exact guarantee that we will walk home to our parents. There is no longer that guarantee. And I trust in this board to make the right decisions on behalf of these issues that I presented before you tonight. And I have faith that with collaborating with student leaders in the district, much can be done. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Christian. I do want to say that I'm sure I can speak for the whole board that safety is our highest priority. And your comments on the sexual violence in the schools is something that I think we should address even more. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Ms. Giovanelli.
Thank you. Okay, I don't know how I follow that.
Yeah, I know.
So, in fact, I had you in my notes, and now you've made my notes longer regarding, I wanted to know how you spell your last name, so when I vote for you as senator, I want to make sure I get you right on the ballot. So how do you spell your last name? Seriously.
W-Y-D-Y-S-H. I can't believe I'm campaigning right now.
S-H. Okay. Because you got my vote. I just wanted to tell you that. And thank you for everything you just said tonight and more, because I loved it. So thank you. Now, let me try to focus my thoughts back again. I wanted to congratulate on the new promotions tonight, because these positions will be held at the highest standard as we do and expect of our teachers. So congratulations to both promotions tonight. I also wanted to talk about the Edison Festival Light. The STEMtastics Day of Discovery is Saturday from 10 to 2 on Saturday the 2/11, which is this weekend coming up. And then Sunday is the Junior Parade, and the run, and that starts at 12, and the parade actually is at 1:30. So that is this Sunday. Super Bowl Sunday as also. And then on 2/18 is the Grand Parade, and that starts at 9, and 7 to 9, about 9-ish. And then I just want to leave with one little thing real quick that has still ringing in my head regarding Tice Elementary and that song that they did this evening. I had to write down the words because I still hear it in my head. Tice Elementary is where I start my life, destined for greatness because they taught me right. Eagles take flight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I gave my comments this afternoon, and before Mr. Christian, our student, leaves the room, I'd like to know if the superintendent can provide me with guidance as to how to undertake a district-wide campaign regarding sexual violence, and if that is even possible. I did ask Christian to please email me so that I can follow up with him. The other thing Christian, I want you to hear regarding safety in our schools. I have 3 children who attend our schools, and I feel safe sending them to our schools every day. And I have told the superintendent, and I've told parents when they come to me about safety concerns, that the day I don't feel safe will be the day I get in front of a microphone and I make that announcement to the entire community. So I want you to know, there is no guarantee of safety. There really has never been a guarantee of safety. Once your child leaves your home, even when your child is in your home, there's no guarantee of safety. But I can tell you that I feel confident sending 3 of the people I love the most in this world to our schools every day. So I wanted you to hear that. Superintendent, if you can just follow up with me at a later date regarding a campaign, or unless you want to address it now through the chair.
Happy to address some of what we're already doing, but I think that is the work of Student Services. I'll say something in my final comments. I spoke to Christian as well. This is Student Services Week, and I'll speak to that in a minute, but it's also, I know it's very popular in February to be focused on Black History Month, but this is also Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month, and your quarterly program that goes out from our Student Services Division is speaking about teen dating violence. So to Christian's statistics, about 1 in 5 girls, within those statistics, 1 in 3 girls in the United States becomes a victim of physical, emotional, or verbal abuse from a dating partner. That's their first introduction to a violent relationship. And so we are already putting information out in our quarterly newsletters about this with parents. But to his point, it's more than a newsletter. So we will make sure. I've already texted Dr. Savage, who's responsible for workshops, and we can engage in this conversation, and maybe in the spring as we move into refreshing our strategic plan, we can look at some of the mental health and other issues and really name them versus just having some generalized mental health goals.
I appreciate that, because I kind of felt like he laid down a challenge to us as a board, and I wanted to make sure that we address that challenge and follow up, so I appreciate that. And if I may, I have a question for the board attorney through the chair. This is more good of the order, thank you. So I was a little bit confused about the pulling of the policies this evening, and I'm wondering if we, as a board, could have more information as to why they were pulled. And the email indicated that various emails were received from constituents. May I please see those emails? Because I didn't get any. And I'd just like to know what the concerns are. Number 1, who sent the emails? Number 2, and then number 3, I thought these were kind of like emergency policies that had to be passed sooner rather than later because we're out of compliance with the law, which is why we did them outside the regular Neola policy. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I had a conversation with both the superintendent and the chairman with regard to these policies. One policy, there was confusion in terms of questioning the Hope Scholarship and what can and can't be done. That was sent by Pastor Roper as well as through Pastor Stevens. There was another question with regards to one of the policies relating to the mandatory reporting and the 30 calendar days, whether or not the Parents' Bill of Rights is affected by that. There was another question with regards to parent complaints. And because these policies are going to be brought forth through Neola, we decided to pull them and just go through the Neola process for all of the policies. So they're no longer fire policies. Because of the storm, we had a delay in bringing them anyhow. So at this point, we're just going to go through the Neola process. And the one with regards to parent complaint was brought forth by Ms. Perez, and the other one with regards to the one with regards to the Hope Scholarship and the other one were both brought by Pastor Roper as well.
I'll follow up to the board with an email.
Okay.
Thank you. Those are my comments for this evening.
Ms. Jordan?
Thank you. I said most of mine this afternoon, but I just wanted to, if he was still here, Christian, I've kind of been with him for the last 3 years, and just to watch him grow. I think at one time he was going to be the governor, so now he has moved on to something new. But he never ceases to amaze me, and that has been something that he has spoken about for probably the last 3 years because of, I believe, people that he personally knew of something that took place. So he is definitely committed to that and just making sure that everybody's okay. I also want to congratulate Director Vasquez. Congratulations to you. And middle school QQ, they're going to be happy to have you. We're going to call you Principal Joe. But congratulations. I'm really happy for both of you. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mrs. Langford Fleming.
Yes, I have a couple things. First of all, I wanted to say what a great job Tice Elementary did this afternoon. What a great way to kick off our school board meeting this evening. And I just wanted to thank Pastor Steve Pruitt for joining us tonight for the invocation. Also, something that some of you on the board may not know, but it's a little close to home, is that Fort Myers High School girls powerlifting team is the very first to have finished in regionals and will be going to state. So thought you all might be impressed by that. Yes. I happen to know a couple of those athletes, so I'm super proud of them. We haven't had a board meeting since the all-county chorus and all-county dance team knocked my socks off. Wow. So if any of those of you are listening, thank you so much for all of the energy you put into that program. Our students are so talented. I would love to see like the news cover that and media, the newspaper, because those students are so deserving as well as their instructors. This afternoon we did talk about leadership and the direction that we send our leaders from the Apples program all the way up to the AP pool and the principal pool. And with our new appointments today, something was I was trying to remember a quote that somebody had given me, and I went and looked it up this afternoon since then. And I just wanted to leave those two people in the room with this and our future leaders that we discussed this afternoon. The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He or she is the one that gets the people to do the greatest things. And that's a quote from Ronald Reagan. So thank you so much. Those are all my comments this evening.
Ms. Morgan.
So I too want to thank Christian, and I do agree that we do have a responsibility to engage with the students on the topics he raised in terms of what we might be able to do in the schools. I want to congratulate Fernando Vasquez for his appointment as Director of Professional Services, and Joe Rustino for his appointment or assignment to Middle School QQ as Principal. Congratulations. So all the rest of my comments are congratulations. Congratulations to the 236 students who received Cambridge Awards for their exceptional performance on the June 22 exam series. 2 students earned awards for having the top score in the USA. 10 earned the Cambridge Scholar Award with distinction. That requires 3 grades of A, which is very difficult because it's difficult to earn even a mark of A on an exam. Congratulations to the JROTC teams, Mariner High School JROTC marksmanship team. They are the 22-23 district and state marksmanship champions. 14 high school JROTC teams participated in a robotics challenge. Cypress Lake High School earned the Excellence Award, the best all-around team at the tournament. Riverdale High School team was the JROTC tournament champion. There were 2 tournament finalist teams from Cypress Lake High School JROTC, and the robotics skills programming champion was from Riverdale High School JROTC. I also want to thank and congratulate the TALC and district bargaining teams who reached a tentative agreement last evening on the remaining compensation issues. It's been a long conversation and a hard conversation, and I just want to thank those who have put in the time and the effort to take us to a place where we have reached a tentative agreement. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Several of our school board members will be attending the Florida School Board Association Finance Forum. We'll be leaving tomorrow. When I ran and the others ran, I don't think any of us realized the impact the finance would be on the district because of the hurricane. And I just want to say I'm looking forward. The more I learn every day, the better. I have my own business, but this is a $2.4 billion business, which is a little larger than mine. But I do want to also thank our financial team. They're doing a fantastic job. Ms. Dupay Bruno, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to congratulate Fort Myers High School for winning and representing Lee County in the local mock trial competition. They'll be moving forward to the 20th Judicial Circuit competition this Friday, so we wish them the best.
Thank you. Dr. Bernier?
Just a couple of quick items. First of all, I would be remiss not to recognize Christian. It's always a pleasure to have him here at the table. And you've been hearing about my listening dialogues with SPALC, TALC, and leadership, small dialogues occurring in the early morning or late evenings. We've also established a cadence related to student voice. I'll be using mornings and afternoons at our high schools prior to the school day starting, or just after it finishes, with an opportunity to meet with student leaders in small groups to establish some of their voice. So I'll promise Christian publicly and all of you that I'll bring some of the information that he suggested forward to get their voice to start informing some of our decisions as it surrounds those particular very serious issues. Speaking of serious issues and wonderful people who help us with what Christian was talking about, this is also Student Services Week. That means your social workers, your school psychologists, your school counselors, your LMHPs, and your school nurses. This is sort of the week that's set aside for them. I sent them just a small token of my appreciation today via email. They were shocked and amazed that someone would pay attention to them. I wanted to give credit where credit is due. The Student Services staff reminded me of that in Cabinet on Monday, and I just took the opportunity of 5 minutes out of my day to just recognize them. So I don't know whether you hug a social worker, a psychologist, or LMHP, a school nurse is vital, and certainly our school counselors, what they do from the moment our young people enter kindergarten all the way coaching them through a high school career and into college is incredibly important work. I did share with them two things, that they do have a purpose every day. And while the kids may not run up to tell them what impact they had on them, the kids are better off and certainly on a better trajectory based upon having those support people within our school buildings and within our community. Proximity plan, I would share with you just a thank you. That's I know it seemed like a very easy decision maybe to the public. There's been consistent work, a lot of work behind the scenes, and I will share with you that the hard work, I will tell you to thank you for recognizing the work of our Chief of Staff and the Coordinator and the Superintendent's Officer, Dr. Adam Malloy, but the hard work just started. By passing this proximity plan tonight, the hard work really begins with communications, this district, and ensuring people know, and we start monitoring that data and sharing with you in real time. I can see the size. Those aren't sighs of relief. That's sighs of the knowledge of, if we don't do this right, we're going to wind up with a bigger problem. But I thank you for the faith in that commitment. TALC, a little slightly different issue to the TALC agreement. Ms. Morgan, you said it beautifully. I think in the midst of a crisis, we have done the very best we can, but I will tell you that I want the public to know it is the resolution of this board. Unprecedented, I believe, to have 3 executive sessions to get to a bargaining position in the course of 1 week. The work that you put in to get to that, what our finance division did, along with our chief negotiators, worked really well. I will go back and watch the videotape based upon the public comment tonight. I did not receive that sort of feedback regarding that, and I want our teachers to know that this is just a start. With the comprehensive benefits package, with what they've done to try with the money that we had to draw out our experienced professionals and release some of the compression with the TISA work, this unit and our TALC group did as much they could with what we had to offer and what the chair said very clearly in very difficult times, considering where we are with the hurricane recovery. It's just the start. And this board has had an unwavering commitment to our teachers, to our support professionals, and all employees. And I just think you deserve the recognition for that as well. Finally, I would leave you with a couple of just small things, but they're huge. North Fort Myers High School, if you didn't get a chance to go out and see Anything Goes, what an amazing opportunity. We get that really cool event that Dr. T invites us to every year, which is the sort of the culmination celebration of all of our high school musicals at the Barbara Mann. You will have an opportunity if you go to that. I guarantee you the scene that they will do will be the tap scene that ended Act One. Just incredible to see the number of high school students and the level of talent we have in our schools. And finally, I know we said it in the update, but that seems like it was days ago now, the hurricane update. Looking forward to seeing many of you out very early in the morning on the island to welcome the Sanibel students and the Sanibel faculty and that community back. It's another symbol of our continuing attempt to recover from the hurricane. So thank you very much, and I appreciate everything you've done tonight and will do in the future.
On Tuesday, February 14th, there will be a board workshop at 12 p.m. On Wednesday, February 22nd, there will be a board briefing at 1 p.m., followed by a board action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this body and seeing no objection, this meeting is adjourned. The time is 8:04.